Inward Nine.
Welcome to Augusta, welcome to the Lil A. Welcome to the city where I'm on the grind every day.
Hello friends, welcome back to the Inward Nine, a Fantasy Golf Metrics production. My name is Jeff Ulrich, and it's Masters Week, baby. Yeah, we had the Shell Houston Open last week. We're not going to talk about it for too long because it's Masters Week, first major of the year. And joining me, as always, co-founder of Fantasy Golf Metrics, Steven Richter. And we'll get some stuff out of the way right off the bat, Steve, right before I introduce you. There's going to be a lot of Masters content coming up on the site. There's going to be a few articles posting tonight, some Masters profiles, the Tuesday article tomorrow, but then the in-play blog on the site, too, for subscribers. I'm going to start blogging on Wednesday just about any notes and stuff coming up about players, but that'll be going right through the event as well. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, get updates in there, maybe just talking about bets, maybe just talking about what I see, whatever, but that'll be up there. And we'll also have the subscriber chat up on Wednesday, so lots to look forward to on Fantasy Golf Metrics this week. But bring in Steve now. How you feeling? You pumped for this week? Glad it's finally here?
Yeah, I mean, I think last week when we came on here, we kind of just breezed through it a little bit, got too excited about the Masters. So, yeah, I mean, it's here. It feels like Christmas in April, and there's just a lot to talk about. So I'm excited to dive right in with you.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to, discount the Shell Houston Open, or it's not the Shell Houston, the Houston Open completely. I mean, it was a good event. I mean, Ian Poulter, Beau Hossler, pretty exciting at the end, quite frankly. I mean, Poulter is pretty amazing to come off like that big a disappointment, and then just and he started really poorly too, and then just to ship it on the weekend like he did, had to come back against Hazu, who had 4 straight birdies on Sunday too. So pretty exciting finish, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad this event's over. I was sick most of the week, so I barely watched any golf. I was just waiting to get healthy for Monday, so I'm ready to go. But let's talk about one more thing, too, before we get any further and we talk actually about the events. There's a new one and done that's going up on the site, and I'll let you introduce it. But for anyone who's looking for details, just go to Twitter under the @FGMetrics Twitter account, and you will find it there. But I'll let you introduce it just to give people details, too.
Yeah, last week we were toying with the idea of putting out another one and done, but like a real money pool, starting with the Augusta for anyone that maybe didn't get involved early in the season. I know a lot of people, maybe a little more casual fans, come out this time of year, so I wanted to give them an option. We got feedback from people on Twitter. They said they'd be interested, so we made it live. It's a $100 buy-in. We're looking to get as many people as possible. If that's 100, 200, 300 people, 100% of that pool is going to be paid out. We're not taking any cuts, any fee, vig, rake, whatever word you want to use for it. It's all getting 100% paid out. I'm actually not going to compete it. I'm just going to administer it, and we'll talk about it on the podcast every single week. I just want to make sure it's a place for everyone that either A, didn't get into one early in the year, or B, is in DFL in their current pool and just want to start over right now. But yeah, we're going to make it exciting at $100 a pop. It's not play money, but it's at the same time, the winners. People that finish really strong are gonna, looking at some 4-figure returns if they do well. So we're excited about putting another contest out there for people.
There you go. So you got the big DFS contest, you got the bets, you got FGM bets to look forward to, and you can enter in. New one and done contest started on Fantasy Golf Metrics site this week, and it's an awesome. Again, we don't emphasize this enough. Maybe one of the best things about the site, and trust me, there's a lot of good things. It's the contest playability. I mean, it's really easy to use. The interface looks great. I mean, it's great for one and done. So definitely check that out. Even if you're not going to play, just check it out because it's really cool for next year, whatever. But
yeah, let me be clear. It's not going to be. You don't have to be a subscriber or anything like that. It's
right.
It's free to use the one and done aspect of the site. There's no fee to join the contest, let alone something from the pool. You don't have to be a subscriber. You just have to sign up on the site with your email. If you go on there into our articles section, I made it available for all users too. They can see more details on the contest. So whether you see it, at FGMetrics on Twitter, or if you see it, fantasygolfmetrics.com, it's all over there, and you don't have to be a subscriber. We hope you consider it, but at the same time, we're making it available for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, no, good to emphasize that. Free to sign up on Fantasy Golf Metrics. Obviously, if you want to subscribe, use all the tools, see all the articles and stuff like that. You can check out the offers and stuff like that. They're very reasonable, by the way. Under $120 a year, $5 for the week. So But you don't have to subscribe to any of that to use the one and done to play the contest. So definitely register if you don't already have an account. You want to check that out. There's still the FanDuel offer up to FanDuel/FGM. Again, if you're a new FanDuel subscriber, you can get a Fantasy Golf Metrics subscription there. I'll let you guys check that out if you want, but just wanted to mention that for Masters Week because, again, probably some people who might just be popping into Fantasy Golf now in the year. This is usually the popular time, so definitely check that out too. But let's get to it. I mean, do you want to talk about the shell at all? I mean, I mentioned Poulter, mentioned Beau Hossler. I mean, your boy was the one who came through.
Yeah, I would say if anyone that was sticking with us, we had the answer for them last week. Had to play that. I'm sorry. Listen, as far as the FGM bets go, I mean, we were high on Rafa, and I think a lot of people were, and he kind of was a dud for us. So we didn't get all of our stake back, but we got the top 20 back for answer, and that was a home run. I mean, listen, I was scared he was going to win because we didn't have him to win, and I think he was probably 300, 400 to 1 in that range. So he played well, and I think a lot of people. I got a lot of feedback emails from guys that won. I think he was like 1% owned in most contests, so he was a difference maker for a lot of people. So anytime we see our users having success, even if it's just from one call like that, it makes our week. So other than that, listen, I'm excited about Poulter. I had some interactions with some guys on Twitter for the match play. I like seeing him, even though he's like the if I'm a Yankees fan, he's like the Red Sox. That's how it is. But it doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. I didn't hate David Ortiz. I appreciated what he did. So when Poulter goes out there, is gritty in the match play, makes those putts. I mean, he had to make another 12, 15 footer. It was more. It was like 19 foot. On 18 and make a birdie. Like, I love seeing that. It doesn't matter if you think he's a jerk. It doesn't matter if you hate him because he's on the other side. I just love seeing that clutch golf, and for whatever reason, he seems to have that. So for him to go in there, win, get back into the field this week, I love seeing that.
No, it is good. I mean, he deserved to win, in my opinion. I mean, Beau Hossler put up a really good fight, and I was impressed, but I was glad to see Poulter get in there, and Hosler's going to have tons of wins coming his way. I mean, definitely a young player to keep an eye on, but it was cool to see. Like I said, he made the comeback after a slow start, played well on the weekend, obviously was clutch on the stretch. Nothing bad to say there. And I'd personally rather see Poulter in the field next week than Beau Hossler because, I mean, I think Poulter is in play for fantasy purposes. I think he's someone you could definitely look to. And, I mean, he ranks pretty highly for us. We'll get to that, but definitely could be a factor for DFS this week. He's got some good finishes at Augusta, so don't forget about him there. I mean, hey, it was definitely a slow week, for most of it, and Answer definitely pulled out the top 20 for us. RCB missing the cut. I'll throw this out. Rafa Cabrera-Bello, I'm pretty sure he played the Sunday practice round with Sergio Garcia, because all the past winners are allowed to bring someone on Sunday for a practice round. I'm pretty sure RCB played with Sergio. So I'll just throw that out there. It might have been pre-planned. I'm not saying he intentionally missed the cut, but yeah, just, throw that out there that, don't forget about him this week anyways.
I'm not sure I'm ready to abandon ship, especially at the prices he's at, but it was a little disappointing. And it wouldn't surprise me if he just wasn't interested. And again, I think that's the toughest thing about handicapping events before majors is because there are guys
the week before the majors, man.
Yeah, it's just the guys. There's a lot of values in guys that are trying and have other motives other than Augusta, but trying to take some of the guys that are playing, in that major that upcoming week. You never know what you're going to get. Some guys love to feed off the adrenaline. Phil's played well. I know he's won a couple times heading into Augusta. He's never won the week before. I don't think that's happened, or at least that hasn't happened in a long time. So it's always interesting to see the higher end guys and what they do. You get a lot of WDs. You get a lot of guys kind of fizzling out. So it's a tough week every time with the high end guys.
I hate the week before majors, man. I always know. It's the hardest week in my opinion for fantasy, especially for DFS, because you get guys like RCB just tank. Sometimes you get withdrawals. It's tough. But you know what? Enough about the shell, or enough about the Houston Open. Let's move on to the Masters. Quick course update. I mean, it's Augusta National, par 72. Obviously, plays over 7,400 yards. Bent grass greens this week. I think most people probably know that, but if you don't, there you go. I mean, it's really hilly. I think that's the one thing that I just feel like people underestimate about this course every year. The elevated lies, tons of elevation changes, lots of dog legs too. Actually, most of the par fives have some dog legs. So it's a bomber's course, but at the same time, you have to know how to get around it. So I wouldn't call it a traditional Bombers course. It does favor, players who can get it out there off the tee if they're accurate and they know where to place it. But a lot of it is about placement. The greens are big, but there's so many little shelves that you have to hit that they actually don't play that big. Stuff like that. You got to play off a lot of side hill lies, things like that. The rough's not big, but if you hit it in the wrong spots here, you can really handicap yourself. So it's just a great course. I mean, we can go through, maybe even talk about like what are your favorite holes a bit. But do you have anything from a statistical or just from like a subjective standpoint you want to talk about course-wise?
A couple quick things. I mean, listen, I run through the numbers every week. Average score, just about 9.5 under par. The average cut's 4, which doesn't surprise me because they get that 10 cut rule, so it's in that range, or the 10 stroke rule. Like you said, it's a Bombers course. Everyone kind of knows that matters. It's just the driving accuracy doesn't matter. I think that's why you see someone like Spieth, Bubba winning. The average winner on tour is beating the field by 3.5% in terms of hitting greens, whereas here it's barely above average, 0.78% better than the field. So you don't have to be beating the field in terms of hitting fairways. You do have to hit greens, though, and you have to hit your spots. The average winner on tour is hitting 8.31% of greens, whereas at Augusta they're hitting 10.79%. And then the last thing, this is a huge percentage difference, is the scrambling. It's one of the biggest things about getting around the course. Obviously, placement, being under the hole, but scrambling, I mean, the average winner on tour is scrambling 13.17% better than the field, whereas at Augusta it's 17.61%. So almost 1 out of every 5 holes greens that you miss, you're getting better than the average for the field. So those are the key things there. It's the placement, getting the ball in there, giving yourself shorter irons to make sure you're getting that placement you're talking about. But then when you do miss, you have to make sure you get up and down. You can't be giving away anything. Yeah,
exactly. And it comes back to that experience factor. It's not just placing the ball properly, but it's knowing how to get up and down from certain spots too. So it does come back to that experience. And I mean, there's some certain trends that most people probably heard of before, but hasn't been since Fuzzy Zeller, since a first timer has won here. It's been a long time since someone's missed the cut the year before and then come back and won as well. So most winners here have played here numerous times, like up 5 or 6 times. So it's a course where people pay their dues. It's just got lots of little nuances where you have to know. You just have to know the course really well in most cases. Obviously, there's exceptions. Jordan Spieth almost won here on his first time, did win here on his second time. Most people don't take to the course that quickly, so I wouldn't necessarily write players off if they had a slow couple years in their first few looks at the courses. If guys like Charles Schwartzel and Danny Willett both finished like T30 on their first attempt and then came back and won. So it takes longer for others. It doesn't take too long for some, but it's still a tricky course either way you cut it. What's your favorite part of the course? There's a lot of good sections of the course. I really like the first 3 holes personally. I mean, I think the first hole's tough. The second hole's like a very scoreable par 5, where Louis Oosthuizen hit one of the best shots you'll ever see in 2012. And then the third hole is actually one of my favorite holes of the course. It's a short, almost drivable par 4, but it also brings like double bogey into play every year. So I like that stretch. But what's your favorite part about it?
I think I don't want to say favorite because there's a lot of different favorite spots and probably even more cliche. Yeah. Obviously that finish is great. 15, 16, 17 in there. But I think it's always interesting to see what happens around the turn because 8 is another one of those par 5s where you can easily score. I mean, you've seen some Tiger shots. Yeah. You see the one where he whips it around and hits the 10 feet, makes eagle. I think that's an underrated section of the course where, you get through the first third of the course, the first 6 holes, you find out how you're feeling, and then if you can turn it on in that area right before you have to go through Amen Corner, I think that says a lot about how the rest of your round is going to go. So it's not so much that I love that spot or the hole. I just think it's a key spot to find where you're at for the day as a golfer.
That's usually where it kind of makes or breaks people's rounds too. Because 9 is a tough par 4, 10 is a really tough par 4, 11 is a tough par 4, and then you have 12. So it's almost like 4 or 5 holes in a row before you get back to some kind of scoreability, right? So yeah, that is kind of like the make or break part of the round because most people do okay at the start, and some people even get off to really hot starts. But if you can't get through that 4 or 5 hole stretch here, that's usually that's what happened to Rory McIlroy in 2000. I think it was 2011. So hit one of the worst drives you'll ever see a professional golfer hit. So let's move into a player discussion though. top group, obviously. I mean, just going off DraftKings prices here, but there's not a ton of people over 10K. Only 4 golfers over 10K this week. Justin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, and then Tiger Woods right at 10K. Who for you is the one golfer of the top group? It doesn't have to be those 4. It can be like, anyone in the top 10 kind of. Who's the one player, though, you're most afraid to fade in the top of the pricing this week?
Afraid to fade?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question there.
Afraid to not have some exposure to, afraid to fade, whatever you want to call it.
It's really tough. I mean, I think DJ's the easy fade for everyone if you're talking that group of 5 people, because it's just, what have he done for me lately? But it's not like he's,
right.
He's still the number 1 player in the world. He's played solo for so long, he hasn't relinquished anything like that. The form numbers we have for him aren't, so god awful, but he is our worst ranked guy out of that. Spieth, listen, I think Spieth's the ultimate course history conversation coming into this week. I was hoping he wouldn't have played well last week so that people would have had the same reason. Obviously, his odds jumped back up. I think he's going to be a popular play again, personally. I was hoping you could get away with him this week because I think he's a great play this week. Now it's not so much, but that's pretty much it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not looking to fade Tiger. I'm not looking to fade Woods. And since that's really all you have at that 10 and up number, I guess you got to say DJ, because it's not like I'm worried that he doesn't have the ability. It's just, because I don't think anyone's going to own him at 11-4, plus the fact that he's probably the least excited, or at least I don't know. On paper right now, he doesn't look as good as the other guys in that range. That's why I'm scared, because he's probably only going to be, in my mind, maybe like, he could be single digit owned, and I don't think you'd expect it. He's probably going to be single digit owned, and if he plays like he does, then you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, you're not necessarily going to get crushed, but you're going to miss out on a really good opportunity to own Dustin Johnson at single digit ownerships, right? Yeah, and I understand that from that perspective. For me, it's Justin Thomas. I just feel like there's no one coming in with such a good lead up. And I just feel like out of all the top players, there's no one who could come in except him and really blow the doors off this tournament. Like, I could see Justin Thomas winning this tournament by multiple shots, and it wouldn't shock me at all. Much like Jordan Spieth did in 2015. And I understand, like, Justin Thomas hasn't finished in the top 10 in two starts here. Like I said off the top, I don't think it's a big deal at all. And I think that people are over comparing him to what certain people have done, mainly Jordan Spieth. So I'm really scared of fading Justin Thomas this week. I'm going to have some exposure to him for sure. I'll probably have overweight exposure on him compared to the field, at least compared to the other top players. He's the player I would not want to fade this week, personally. I feel like he's the best player in the world right now, too. So that's it for me. Let's switch it now. Who's the one player you are okay fading?
Ooh, it's hard to say. I think I'm not ready. I'm not there on day, and I know you are.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what. I got a great hot take. So why don't I go, and you can think about it.
Okay.
Okay. So for me, it's Jordan Spieth, and people are probably listening like, dude, where have you been the last 4 years, right? Like, I get it though, and the thing is, if you just want to weigh course history, that's fine. I guess Jordan Spieth is like your top play this week. If you look objectively, though, he's not in the form he's been, and I just don't think that you're going to see him finish in the top 5 every single year the rest of his life. I just don't think I don't think he's Tiger Woods. So I think A, you're going to see a little bit of regression at this course. I think B, the competition this year at the top, I think you've got way more people coming in. So I don't think that Spieth coming in here and dominating isn't anywhere near as certainty as it has been, the last few years. And B, again, I just come back to, he's just not in as good a form. I know he found some confidence with the putter last week. I know his approaches are really good. I know, trust me. But he's not as confident as he has been. At least he was not in 2015. So I'm fine fading Jordan Spieth this week. I think he's getting a lot of popularity. I see a lot of people making him kind of their pick and saying, we got the confidence and the irons are back and he's just going to find it on Augusta. I just don't like that narrative. Someone's just going to find it all of a sudden just because they come to a golf course. So for me, if Jordan Spieth's going to gain a lot of popularity, he's going to be like over 20% owned this week, I'm fine fading him. Honestly, I am.
Yeah, I don't mind that, because the thing is, now that the ownership's going to go back up, I don't mind it nearly as much. I mean, I liked him if he played poorly last week, just because I would have
Right.
given myself that ability with the course history and the fact that, people wouldn't be on him. But I agree from an ownership perspective. I mean, I'm not excited about him. I'm not looking to bet him. I'm not looking to do anything like that. I wasn't going to fade him, originally, just because I didn't think he needed to, with the ownership going to be probably the lowest it's ever been for him at Augusta. But
But he's getting to speak again. I mean, that's what people wanted to see. They wanted to see him like top 5,
Exactly.
play well.
But I mean, of that level, I have no interest in Rory McIlroy yet. I want him to win because, again, I've mentioned this multiple times. I love seeing that. I love seeing history. I love seeing the Grand Slam.
The Grand Slam, yeah.
I love seeing that, and because you never do. It's 1 out of like 8 now in history. So I definitely want to see that. But it kind of feels to me like he won. He had the putter get hot because he got a new technique, and then he didn't get it done at WGC for whatever reason. It kind of feels to me like I've had some times myself when I've changed something up with putting and it's exciting and it's fresh and I feel like I'm making things, and then you keep doing it and it's like, nah, it's still not like it's not like
It's not the same.
You don't.
It's not like the first date. It's
exactly. You don't just go from negative strokes gained putting to like beating the tour for a week and then that's what you do from that moving on. Like it was a hot week. He's found a couple of good things, but that's not at Augusta. I mean, I was talking to someone on Twitter, Dan Bigos, I think his name is, Real Daddy Biggs, and it was interesting. He said, in terms of talking about putting at this course, it's not about being a good putter as much as, like you've mentioned earlier, hitting it in the right spots. I mean, if you're below the hole and you're a bad putter, you might have a better putter performance than a good putter above the hole at a place like this, because
Right.
I would love to see, there's so much conversation about how there's not as much data, there's no strokes gained data. I would love to see the strokes gained putting data for Augusta, only because I bet it would be one of the largest disparities between average proximity and strokes gained putting. I would imagine that people putting from 10 feet below the hole compared to 10 feet above the hole, the miss numbers. I mean, I wish we could see those kind of disparities, because compared to most courses, it's going to be interesting. I don't know that necessarily being a good putter does matter, and I've seen some of those takes online, and I agree with them. But you need to be good at putting this week, whether it's scrambling or you're just in the right position. So I know it's kind of like it leads up to it from where you're giving yourself the opportunity to putt from. It's really hard to say when you don't have those detailed stats that we've been accustomed to.
You can't just be a good putter. You have to be, semi-smart about where you're leaving yourself too. I think that's probably the best generalization. I agree with you on Rory, by the way. I mean, if Spieth wasn't gaining in popularity, he would have been my choice too. I see him as the same way. It's the 1 week hot putting round. It just, if you take the rest of his year into consideration, it just doesn't do it for me. I don't think he's necessarily a bad DFS play, kind of like Spieth, I guess, because either one of these guys could pop up and make a ton of birdies and finish T10 or T5 or something and still be great. But I'm not really scared about fading either of them. So I might have a little bit of Rory in DFS just because he's cheaper. I think he'll be lesser owned, but I'm not scared about fading either one of those guys. Obviously, they're not my pick to win either. But anyways, that's interesting conversation. I think we're kind of on the same page there. Let's move down. Let's talk about like core players, guys who you really like. And again, this is kind of fictional, whatever. I mean, but let's say you had one player and you had to put him in like every single lineup this week, regardless of how many lineups you're making. Who would it be? Who's your favorite play, basically, just on a price perspective? Again, we're talking DraftKings salary right now, but just who's your favorite DFS play?
Adam Hadwin.
Hadwin.
I mean, listen, I don't want to. I feel like that's not really surprising anyone, given how much we've spoken about him, especially you and I, our conversations. But
yeah.
When in the way you phrase that question, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me for a price. I mean, listen, if you want to say the safest play, I don't know if he's safest, but it's the easiest decision in my mind to play someone. So I hope I hope he doesn't miss the cut after I just said that and everyone heard me and Steve said Adam Hadwin. But I'm looking at it. I mean, he's 7,200. The closest guy in our top 15, 20 is Stenson at 7,800, which I think is still a silly price, even though he hasn't had the history here. But it's just Adam's playing well. I don't see anything about his numbers and the metrics that I'm used to looking at that say he's not going to play well. He's had some decent starts here. It's just I like it to make up room. I mean, you said if you had to play him in 100 lineups, I like the idea of having him stashed in there to give me that room, because at 7,200, all of a sudden that opens you up with how soft the pricing is up top. I mean, I've seen a couple lineups that I've been able to make here. I've been able to make on FanDuel. On FanDuel, our optimal lineup, if you use our lineup generator, has Day, DJ, and Spieth in it, and I'm like, how can you make that lineup normally? You wouldn't normally be able to, but it has guys like Hadwin, Rafa, Hoffman, Chappell. Those guys, you feel good about those guys if you get that firepower up top.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I was, I won't reveal mine because I'm going to talk about him too much later. But I'm definitely on board with Hadwin being a real core player this week too. He ranks out so well, obviously, in the data we have. I just think he's played so well this year. I love the fact he's played some of these tough courses well too. He hasn't even putted well yet. Like, that's the scary part. He's playing so well tee to green. His approaches are so good right now. He's not even putting well, and he's still like top 20, top 10ing every week. I love it this week too. I think this is the course he can manage his way around well. I know people want to bring in the distance argument. That's fine. You don't need to be the biggest bomber. Danny Willett didn't bomb it off the tee. Jordan Spieth doesn't bomb it off the tee. I think Hadwin can get around this course fine. I really like him this week too. So let's talk about one other thing, because there is a ton of value in this field. There's a ton of value under 7K on DK. Who's your favorite sub 7K play? For, I guess, let's just call it for GPPs or whatever, or tournaments, but who would be your favorite upside play under 7K this week?
There's a couple guys that the guide likes and I can also get behind. I think under 7K, our highest ranked guy is Chappell, who I mentioned. He's at the top of our second class at 6,900. We got him ranked 12th in form and 11th in history. 2 of 2 cuts made here, 7 straight cuts on tour. But right next to him, also under 7K at 6,900, is DeChambeau, and we have him ranked 20th in form, 34th in history. I mean, it's only one start. He finished 21st. But his trend is second overall, and key stat is 21st. And he's just, I don't know, if you're going to have the mad scientist conversation, I feel like that would happen at a place like Augusta. I know he's a USGA guy, so the US Open's also that spot, but I could see him just getting around the course in whatever way he felt like would make sense. And the fact that he's playing well now, I don't mind getting on him. I would not call him. I definitely more of a GPP play, because at the same time I could see him going 74, 74 and see you later. Although that's actually not terrible here, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, he'll be like T30 after that. No, I mean, DeChambeau and Chappell definitely can't argue with either of those guys. Really strong tee to green players. Obviously, both had a bit of injury issues too, just in case you didn't know. Chappell had to withdraw from the WGC match play with a back issue. Haven't really heard any news on that. I'll try and update on Wednesday the blog if we get any news, just in case, or if you haven't heard. DeChambeau obviously had to withdraw from Valspar. He obviously played fantastic his last tournament out too at Bay Hill, so I don't think that's a big deal. But just to update people, I'm down with both those guys. I'm more down with DeChambeau just because there's no injury. There's less of an injury worry. I like Cam Smith at 6,900. Another player played well, Riviera. Ball striking can be a little bit, off and on. I do worry that he might get in some trouble here, but around the green, again, we talk about guys who need to get up and down. Cam Smith's around the green game is fantastic right now. He's played here before. He's definitely upped his game since his first time at Augusta, too. He did make the cut in his first attempt. I like him for GPPs. I really feel like he's got a chance to top 20, maybe sneak into the top 15 here. And he makes quite a few birdies, too. So I like him from a GPP perspective. I do like those other two guys you brought up, though. They'd be, there's probably the top 3 in my list right there. So. But there's a lot of good value under 7K this week, so definitely a lot of flexibility. I think you can definitely, and you'll probably see guys win tournaments using a couple of these players. Maybe not even some of the other guys we brought up, but definitely a week that you can look under 7K for value. So,
I mean, if you look at, I guess you said under 7K, but at 7K on the dot, Ryan Moore, obviously he's been popular a couple times in the Masters, has a good record here.
Yeah.
He's trending in the right direction.
Great record here, yeah.
Definitely.
I think Kyle Stanley was on my list too. He's played really well his last 2 times out.
I was absolutely going to say he is trending in the right direction. He's a guy that we liked last year so much for so many reasons, and just the idea of him trending, like you're saying, in the right direction. I wouldn't mind that at 6,800.
I would not be scared to use to Kyle Stanley this week at all. Great tee to green game. I know he's played Augusta once and missed the cut. It was 5 years ago. he's playing really well again, and he has improved his putting and around the green game a bit. I think this is a good. I think it's a course he can do pretty well at. So it's played tough the last few years. That's good for Kyle Stanley though. So I really like it at 6,800 too. Definitely. And Brendan Steele's another guy who's you can think about too. I mean, played top 30 last year. So yeah, lots of players under 7K. Like I said, lots of good value this week. Or you could just go down and use Cabrera, who's like in the final group, every like 4 years. So. I think his run of final groups is done, just to be serious. But it was a pretty crazy run between 2009 and 2013. 3 final groups. It's insane. Let's do some one-on-ones, though. I mean, like we do every week. I got 3 or 4 here lined up. So we had the debate. I already gave the sort of Spieth versus Thomas, but let's hear your side. Who'd you take? Spieth versus Thomas, 1 versus 1. One lineup. Who'd you take?
For me, I mean, listen, if you look at the guide, Thomas is number 1 ranked overall, so it's easy. I mean, listen, these first 2 I have queued up for the 1 versus 1s. They're going to be pretty simple for me. But, yeah, Thomas, listen, I actually, as you were saying earlier, you could see him kind of having one of those performances where it's, like, not even close. I saw it, too. As you were saying it, I'm like, I was visualizing that happening, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it actually could happen. I mean, if he goes out there and gets hot, like, it could be one of those things where it just, the course maybe seems difficult for everyone, and one day or two he distances himself that way for whatever reason. He goes out and shoots like 64 and everyone shot 69, and next thing you know, it's like you're bored. You don't want that as a golf fan, because like that happens. No. That's the worst. I mean, you see that in some of these majors and it's like, oh my God, it's the worst. But I absolutely could see that at this course, and especially if it's going to be soft, maybe I could see a narrative where maybe it's soft, or maybe there's actually a little bit of rain while they're playing, a little breezy, but he just goes out there and takes advantage of it. I absolutely could see that.
And like I said, he's the one player, in my opinion, who could go out and do that this year. And again, I'm not trying to be anti-Jordan Spieth. He's a great player. He's got a great history here. But the form, to me, is it's such a big difference right now. And imagine if Jordan Spieth was coming in with Justin Thomas's form. He'd be like 5-1 in the odds. Yeah. Justin Thomas is like behind Jordan Spieth in the odds right now. I think that's ridiculous, personally. So I'm on Team Thomas for sure. Second one, Rory McIlroy versus Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I mean,
haven't even talked about Tiger yet. Can't believe it. We'll have a real talk about Tiger right now.
It's just, I don't want to say I think Tiger's going to win, because I feel like I'm adding to the jinx of the emotional side. And I know so many people want to see it, so I don't want to say it, because then it's like, that fake force out there, right? So, but he could win. Like, he is playing just as well as he needs to win, and he's obviously played very well here before. It's hard for me to say that he's not the favorite. I mean, like I said, I tweeted it out. He just barely, like by a decimal, is under Justin Thomas. I mean, the way we rank it, we have it a scale from 10 to 1. It looks like they're tied because it's 10.00 for both of them, but it's like if you go to that 1,000th decimal, Tiger was almost the number 1 ranked player without any bias at all. He's 8th in form, 1st in history, 4th in trend, 8th in secret stat. He's almost in the top 100 in the world now. Let's not forget he's 104. He's played here 12 times, and he has an average finish of 10. Sorry, he's played here more than 12 times, but in the sample we're looking in the last 15 years, 12 starts, 10th finish. I mean, I don't need to tell anyone about that. They know his history here. It's just you add that plus the fact that he was one of the favorites in the last event he played, and what are we? Why should we not expect Tiger to go out and win this like he did in the past if he's playing as well as he is and he has that history?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love it to see Tiger play or win this week, man. I mean, it would be awesome, and I really feel like he's got a real chance. I mean, I feel like the only argument people have against him is like, oh, he's not going to be able to hit the driver straight now. Tiger Figure has, if you've just watched him this year, you've seen him progress. First, he couldn't hit his irons. He figured that out. Then he couldn't hit any fairways. Well, then he started to hit a few fairways. It's only progressing. Like it's still at the point where it's only going to get better. So I think he's got a real chance this week. I wouldn't be afraid to use him in DFS at all. I would definitely take him over Rory this week personally. 100%. I wouldn't even be scared about it.
Let me point something out to everyone here. Jeff says he's going to be excited. He's rooting for Tiger. Let's not hide the fact that you have him in your back pocket at 80 to 1. All right.
I do.
So
I do. I mean,
that's a phenomenal number to be rooting for as well.
And look, it's not like a huge bet or anything, but at the same time, if he starts well, I can just sit back and be like, okay. I mean, if he wins now, I cash and I have a profitable week. So, I mean, it's all good. I mean, I almost keep forgetting that I have that because I keep looking at odds. I'm like, gosh, should I add anyone else? I'm like, man, I still got this Tiger bet. Like, I don't even know why I'm betting anymore. But, anyways, I don't know. Probably gonna add some Justin Thomas tonight, but I love Tiger this week. I'm definitely gonna use him in lineups and stuff like that too. Like I said, there's no fear for me for Tiger. So this next one is really interesting, and I feel like most people's answer will go one way. I do feel like people might actually overlook the other side. It's Phil lefty versus Justin Rose.
Well,
who you got?
What is the? I know we do this every week. What do you calling the criteria for 1 versus 1? Because this one's so close in my mind that I want to make sure I'm framing the parameter.
Again, you got one lineup this week. You can only choose one. It's your main lineup. You're putting it in like 100 things. Who you picking? You got to take one. You can't use the other.
I'm putting.
That's
Phil, I'm putting Phil in.
Yeah, Phil, man.
I'm putting Phil in.
Phil owns Augusta. He owns it. Phil is basically the owner of this. I mean, I know everyone loves Tiger. Phil owns Augusta. Seriously, go watch the Masters from like 2008 or 2006 on. Phil owns this freaking course, man. Like, it's disgusting. It's disgusting how good he is around this course. And he's like top 6 in his last 4 stroke play events. Well, actually not including Houston, but whatever. He still played fine last week. He owns this course, man. I would 100% take Phil over Rose this week. I wouldn't even be scared. Again, it's nothing against Justin Rose. Justin Rose is great. He does not have the experience. I don't think he's quite playing at the level Phil is right now either. They're close. I mean, they're really close. Rose is playing well. And again, I'm not trying to say Justin Rose is a poor play this week. I would take Phil over.
When we submitted our thing for like the compilation with Mayo, you know, we had to put who we thought would be the 2 highest owned, and at that time, Bobby had Rose and Thomas pegged as the top 2. I think that might have shifted a little bit. Obviously, we had to have that in last week. I think Rose is probably still one of the highest. I think people are considering.
I think Rose will be the highest.
Yeah, I think for the price and the form and the history, he seems to be the most logical play on paper. If you want to call that chalk, that's fine. I don't like to call it chalk all the time because it just means that it's right sometimes. But yeah, it's just from an ownership perspective, that's the difference. That's why I asked that question beforehand. I mean, I don't feel like there's downside to Phil, but I imagine the owner. The ownership might not be too far off though. I mean, Phil's playing well. People understand. They can see the course history. We believe course history is a big driver of ownership relative to other factors. So maybe it's not too much of a value, but I just think that you might see Rose owned at like 30%, and I'm just using random numbers here, and Phil owned at 20%. It's not like you're getting a big deal on Phil, but at the same time, 20% to 30%, I don't feel like I'm getting a worse play if I'm getting that extra 10%.
Exactly. And I mean, cash game lineup, you can obviously think about using both of them. I think that's actually a really good play because they're both under 10K. I like going more balanced this week anyways for a cash game. So, but if you ask me one like GPP lineup or whatever, I'd take Phil, man. Like, you can get him at probably at least, even if it's just slight, like you said, slightly lower ownership, I'd still take that because I feel like Phil's upside right now and at this course is just better. So, both good plays, but I'd lean Phil. Last one, Bubba Watson, Sergio Garcia. This one's interesting because Bubba, again, has the possibility of being one of the chalkier plays of the week.
Yeah, you know what's interesting here is, and I haven't done any research, but I'm basically gonna put out a theory that I have without researching it, and then maybe I'll research it afterwards and I'll follow up. But my gut is this, and because I haven't dug the numbers, my gut is Bubba is not playing well and winning recently for the same reasons that he was a winner at Augusta and Travelers and everything around that 2012 to 2014 year. So I want to dig. That's my hypothesis I'm throwing out there, and I want to check it. I just have this feeling that he's getting it done in different ways than he has in the past. And if that's the case, and the argument isn't 100% course history, it's also form leading in, then I think that's a very interesting thing to look at. I think it's very, very easy to say he's won 2 events this year. He's won 2 green jacket, who gives a damn? At 8,700. Yeah, a 2-time winner this year, end of the event. How do you not show interest there.
So you would take him over Sergio?
I just realized I went on a Bubba rant there. I didn't even give you an answer to the question. So my actual no, I would not.
Okay.
I would actually. I'm interested in Sergio because I just think it's the better. I think Sergio's going to be significantly lesser owned. I think in cash I could probably make a better case for Bubba given all of that rant there, but I think Sergio is not nearly as popular. Again, I haven't been checking any forums or any articles, anything like that to say that one way or the other. But you just had the baby. He's coming off winning last year. We have him ranked. I think we have ranked third overall. So from the numbers perspective, we actually have Sergio ranked higher than Bubba. They're both in the first class, but I think Bubba's going to be so high owned that from a GPP perspective, it's the same argument I made about Phil, where I'm not feeling I'm getting a worse play, but I'm definitely probably going to get a better ownership.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Sergio over Bubba, but I think mainly for the reasons you just laid out, I would take him over Bubba here too. Bubba scares me. He scares me maybe he should have been my pick that I'm most afraid to fade because thinking, yeah. He's another player who I just feel could maybe not blow the doors off, but he could win this week. He's definitely in the conversation of players I think could win. I'm interested to hear more about what you think he's doing differently, because I know he's still slamming it off the tee, and I know it's not like the biggest factor at Augusta, but it's a factor, especially on the longer par fives. He's going to set himself up, so it scares me. I think I would slightly lean Sergio right now, especially if I'm going to get lower ownership in GBPs, but I'm not like off Bubba or anything like that.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, what I was saying there was more of a hunch.
Right. Oh no, for sure. I'm just wondering what your hunch is, though. Do you think it's just like he's scrambling better or putting better or something, or just?
Yeah, I feel like back then it was more of a brute force, and now it's more of a finesse.
Right.
He's kind of come back from a bad year. It's just the signs of all of a sudden he's playing well. I think that the way he used to win or the way he won there was came more naturally, whereas now I feel like he's trying to bounce back from where he was at, and he's finding different ways to do it. So again, he could be doing it exactly the same. I'm just willing to throw that out there and then give myself the task of checking it for the purpose of this argument. But you know what, like you said, you said who you're scared of. We use that price point to kind of cut it out. But me, I look at a scenario where I don't have any DJ or any Bubba, and they could easily go 1-2, and it's like I don't cash a single lineup.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's
absolutely. That's the tough thing of a tournament like this too, because it almost plays like a WGC week, because the cuts that's top 50 and ties, most of the field makes the cut. I mean, not most of the field, but over 50%, and then you have all the senior guys in it and stuff like that. That takes out another 10 to 15 to almost 20 people.
Yeah.
So it really does play like a WGC. And if you don't have the top guy or someone in the top three, you're screwed. And Bubba and DJ, like you said, they could pick up two of those spots. So Bubba definitely scares me a little bit. Like I said, I might try and get him into some DFS lineups, but at the same time, I'm not going to go overweight on him. So I kind of have a bit of a hunch the same way as you do. We just won't see it here this year. He's definitely played well on those other two courses, but I don't know. He's scary. So let's just talk about ownership and strategy and stuff like that, though. Obviously, we kind of already talked about values and GBP targets, so maybe we won't rehash that. But out of the top group, and it doesn't have, again, we don't have to cut this off a price point, but who is your favorite guy? Who's your favorite play up there to kind of go overweight on, and who do you think is going to end up being a really good milli maker target kind of thing, just from an ownership or play perspective? Doesn't really matter.
I think Alex Noren, a guy that you and I have loved for a long time, is probably a solid play overall. He's actually only in our second class. He doesn't have a great history here. He's only played here once and he missed the cut. So yeah, what do you say about that? But he's still fourth in form. Obviously been playing extremely well. The trend is still there. He's sixth in secret stat. I just feel like, at his price at 8,100, it's one of the better prices for a guy playing as well as he has played. The putter is in the right direction. The ball striking has always been his, but it's not. They're both a forte. He's a really good player all around that just hasn't been playing long enough to amass some wins, or at least playing in front of our eyes to amass some wins. I mean, he's won a bunch overseas. He's been in the mix here. I think I think he's a really solid play this week.
What about Leishman?
What about him?
I mean,
we're invested in him. We're invested in him. I'll tell you that.
I'm invested in him for sure. Yeah. Like I'm actually invested in pretty big from bet. I like it. I'm not as high on him as I was at the start of the year, but at the same time, like especially for GPPs, I feel like Norton's going to be not maybe chalky, but he's going to be like Leishman has a potential to be like 5% owned this week.
So
just where he falls.
Am I way off then? I guess in thinking that Noren is not going to be a very popular play.
I think he's going to be semi-popular. I don't think he's going to be like Rose chalk, but I mean he's 8,100. People know the form, and I mean I think enough people will talk themselves into just ignoring the course history, which I think is fine because I mean he's been playing well. It's not like he can't figure this course out. So I think Noren is going to soak up a lot of ownership. I think Adam Scott's going to soak up a lot of ownership. I don't think Leishman's going to get. I don't think he'll approach 10% at all. So,
oh no way.
I'm looking at Leishman as a really good GBP play this week. Personally, I think he does carry a little risk. His putter has been a little bit cold, but he's top 10 his last time out. I mean, stroke play event. So
I'm trying to figure out. I just realized now, like, how is Leishman more than Noren?
That's what I mean, because it looks like a bit of a pricing error almost with Leishman, right? Yeah. I don't think it is because Leishman's a top 20 player in the world, but if he hasn't top 5 at all this season, and he's top 10 a couple, but people just look and like, oh, Leishman hasn't done anything. He's played pretty solid actually. His last time out, tee to green is really good. So I got no problem using Mark Leishman at 8,200.
I feel like this is one of those weeks where I look back on Sunday and I'm really unsuccessful. One of those weeks. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Leishman, he finishes like 6th. He doesn't win, but like finishes like 6th or 7th. And it's like, that was the difference. Like having that, because he's not going to be 10% owned. He's going to be, you're right, he could be 6-7% owned based on that price. I mean, how do you take him based on some of the overall macro numbers? But on a micro level, if you want to use that term, yeah, you're right. He played well his last time out. He's played well here, a decent amount. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's the play that I don't make that I should have made because, you know what, I was too smart for myself.
Well, I mean, I don't know if necessarily being too smart. I mean, it might work the other way too. Like I might just be talking myself into like using him just because he's lower percent and avoid Alex Noren, who's like top 5s every week. So, but it is an interesting conversation because I think you're going to get him at half the ownership, maybe even better than that. So. I like him from that perspective, from a milli maker. I think you could really get some good leverage if he ends up top 5ing. So I like him. I also kind of like Jason Day for a lot of the same reasons. I know he hasn't played that much, but you look where he falls in. He's between Phil and Rory. He's not that far off Justin Rose. He's just below Tiger. He's not going to be very highly owned, man. And he has not really played poorly at all this year. Even his last time out, he wasn't that bad. He had like one bad round. So I'm talking about the Bay Hill event, by the way, not stroke play. I know he lost stroke play, but who cares? Or match play. Who cares about match play? Jason Day's got a fantastic record at Augusta. He really does. It's very underrated in my opinion. He's gotten around this golf course really well. I definitely use him over Rory this week in GPPs.
I could see Bobby having a ton of Mark Leishman because you know what? That's his strategy. He goes in. He generally plays the 444, whatever the 333, whatever the larger of the main GPPs is. He usually does that 1 or 2 entries, and he is just big on the game theory aspect of it because he'd rather take a guy that has the ability and will have low ownership and lose a couple weeks in a row because he had and then like top 5 it, and in that contest, he's had some big cashes. He's had a bunch of 5,000 cashes. 10,000 at the Open last year. He hasn't actually won it, but he's been like top 5 a couple times. But he's worth kind of like taking the risk against the chalk for a couple of weeks because when the chalk does hit in that contest, or when the chalk fades and the guys that are low owned hit, like that's when he can cash in. It seems that that's the disparity for him. So that's when a lot of
I mean, just to talk strategy in that too, it's a smaller field event, right? Like for DraftKings, it's only 1,800 players. I'll probably throw one in that.
And that's big.
This week too.
It's the majors. So.
It's still big, but because it's the majors, but it's significantly smaller than playing the Millie Maker, right? So you get a guy like Leishman at like 5% owned in that field going off, like oh man, like you're set if you get like 5 or 6 players through. So. I know it's big. Definitely, like I said, obviously, in a field like this, you still need guys in the top 3 or 5, and if someone blows the door off, you're kind of done if you don't have them. But yeah, no, I like both these guys, both those Australians for GPPs from those perspectives. They do have some risk. I mean, look, like I said, Leishman, it's not like he's been the insane form he had at the end of 2017, but he's not playing bad. And all these players are really good is what it comes down to. This is kind of why I like DFS golf, because almost every week you can get a player like Leishman or Day who's like a top 20 player in the world, and you can get them at like 5 to 10% ownership just because they haven't done anything their last 2 times out, because that's how sentiment changes. So it is a little bit risky because obviously we like to follow the stats and the trends, but from a game theory perspective, it's great. And I've had some of my best cashes, on weeks like that. I remember getting Ricky Fowler at the 2014 U.S. Open at 2% ownership. He's like 2.6% ownership in the big $200 tournament they had that week. I was like the only one in the top 5 who had him, and I think I finished second or something. That was my biggest cash, but same kind of thing. Obviously, we don't have the bigger field this week, so we won't get guys quite that low. But yeah, for GPP tournament, I love thinking that way too. So
I'm gonna jump a little off topic, but because he's a guy that I've been talking about for a bit, and I want to get your thoughts on him. After this performance this past week, what are your thoughts on Ricky Fowler?
I think I'm good waiting until the U.S. Open. I do like him for the U.S. Open, by the way, and I know it's a little bit like jumping the gun here, like 2 months away, but there's some reasons why I do like him, and I think he's going to be in better form by the time I get there, so I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm fine. I'm fine getting off Ricky this week. I probably won't have any.
Obviously you heard over the last week or two I've been excited about him, and I added him to my bets, and I was really, really pumped, and I'm a little sour because you know what? I saw him in the lead on the weekend, or I guess early in the weekend you'd say, and I thought he would go out there and take it, and I was like, you know what? It made me feel like I saw this happening. It happened, and now we can go with what we hoped would happen. And if you're going to challenge for the lead at the Houston Open and then fade, what are you going to do at Augusta? I'm just a little disappointed by it. I'm still glad I have him at the number. I'm at 20-1, but I'm very, very disappointed about him really, really falling. I mean, you go from first. I think what he finished 48th or something like that last week.
Did he go down that far?
Let me see. 43rd. 43rd.
Oh God, he shot 73. See, I was sick last week, so I missed most of this, like I said. But it's obviously it's not even that performance so much with that. It's just the lead up. It's not good for me from any perspective. And maybe this is another. Maybe I just brought him up as when I had him with no form at the US. Actually, he did have a bitty form that year though, so I can't even use that argument. I just can't get on him here when he's just not striking the ball as consistently, because he will get himself in trouble. And I mean, even last year when he was playing well, he got himself in certain situations. So
well, that's the thing. I mean, through 2 days, I was like, this is what I saw happening, because the trend was up for a significant amount of time, especially in his secret stat in the 10-round moving average that I'm looking at. And then you look at the last 2 rounds, and it is a tremendous drop. To skew a 10-round moving average as much as it did, it was so bad the last 2 rounds. I mean, and now he's below baseline, whereas he's below baseline. He was above baseline before last week. So you're right. It's not so much that the ability on the ball striking side wasn't there, but it's so inconsistent, and that is the problem.
Right.
I mean, the putter was a little better, but it's that's what I mean. I mean, the form was there in theory, because if he goes out there and just plays average over the weekend, it's top 10. He challenges for the win, and it just went away. And I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah, look, a guy like Fowler, who knows what's going through these guys' heads too. Maybe he just decided to throw it in on Sunday or something. I don't know, and maybe he's actually more content with his game than we think. But to me, and I hate to use this term, but it just feels like he's searching right now. He just feels like he's just a little bit off in most aspects of his game, around the green too, and with the putter still. So I know he had that one hot putting round, and he could have a hot putting round here and maybe pay off for GPPs, but I just don't feel any need to get on him here. Like I said, I still like Ricky this year. I still kind of like him for the US Open. I think that might suit him, but we'll talk more about that in the summer. We'll see. He's going to be an interesting player if he gets in the mix, because there's going to be a lot of people like you and me being like, wow, where did this come from? I don't think it's going to happen, but he does have a pretty good record at this event.
He just makes a lot of like doubles. You know, he's a bit of a gunslinger. And you like that in golf. You like the Roy McIlroy kind of thing, but it gets him into trouble. Like, he makes bigger mistakes than everyone. Like, he does so many things at the highest level, and it just feels like, I don't think it's one of those things where he gets near the lead and he crumbles. He gets near the lead and then he keeps going and then he makes a mistake. And it's never been a mental thing, at least from what I can see from him. It's just he goes one speed and it's just too much sometimes. Like, he gets up by the lead and the next thing you know, he makes a double or a triple and he's out of it and he doesn't recover. And I don't think it's a fear thing, because obviously when he does have it going, I mean, you saw what he did at the Players. You can't attribute what he did down the stretch at the Players and say someone's mentally weak. It's just, I don't know if he's enough of a golfer. It's kind of that conversation you have when you have a thrower and a pitcher. I feel like he's more of a thrower than a pitcher right now.
It's a good analogy, to be honest. I feel like course management sometimes gets away from him. I remember at the Phoenix Open when we lost to Hideki that year. He's playing better than Hideki, but he stepped up to the 17th tee, the drivable par 4. He was hitting it so well that week, and he just nutted a drive, and he didn't have to hit driver, and he nutted it into the water for no reason. And it was just like, what are you doing? Like, you just have to par in. He's full throttle a lot of the times, where sometimes he just needs to sit back and have a better game plan. But that's just his style, man. Like, I mean, I still like him, but you're 100% on the ball there. So I just can't pick him when he's this out of form at this course. I hope he wins this event one year, because I do like him at this course. I think the greens and stuff, he's just so good around the greens here. So, but not this year, not for me. No Ricky on the card. Be interested to see if he gets in the mix though. But who is there anyone else we kind of you want to talk about? Because I mean, I like the Ricky discussion. There's probably a few other players we could bring up. Is there anyone that you're like intent on fading because of ownership or anything like that?
I don't know about fading. I mean, I'm interested in Charlie Hoffman. Decent record here. He's playing
I mean, opened with a 65 last year, like horrible conditions.
Yep. It's playing a bit better over the.
What about Gary Woodland? I mean, we had this. I don't know if we had this conversation last week or not, but we did, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on him had changed at all?
Not really.
I'm not even sure where I stand on Gary Woodland. Like, I feel like he's got the talent, but he's kind of like Fowler. He's been searching for it ever since his win. It feels like it'd be a bit of a shock, but maybe not to win, but maybe like a top 10. I could still see that, but
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm too excited. I mean, Stenson is really interesting because it's really hard to say you think Stenson's going to win, but terrible course history for whatever reason. It's just
really bad.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
He's shot 80 as many times as he's shot in the 60s here.
And
that's over like a huge sample too. That's
it's really hard to do the whole back-to-back winner here, but Poulter, like both the numbers that I'm looking at on Poulter, like if he didn't win this past week, I mean, regardless if he did, I'd be looking at his overall stats and saying like he's a must bet right now.
It's interesting. So you'd play Poulter over Kuchar then this week for sure.
I hate to say that because like Kuchar just always he has a good
Kuchar's like the
I mean,
money machine here, man. Like it's insane. But
Poulter's
got a good record here too, though.
Yeah, he had some solid finishes. I like him. I think that he's the kind of guy that there isn't really much of a letdown. If he's playing well and he's focused, he has that drive. I don't think he's going to give up on it because I think that so much of the motivation was that whole snafu where he didn't make the Masters and he thought he did, or it looked like he was supposed to, but he didn't, and then he goes out and wins to get in. He is that kind of guy. He's not always going to be great, but he has great moments, and considering it feels like the great moment he put on last week was to get here, I don't think it fades from him.
Well, and like Poulter's not like Matt Jones. Like this isn't his first Masters or anything. He was actually going to come here as an announcer anyways. So I mean, it doesn't even really change his plans. He's just bringing his golf clubs now. So I like it too. I mean, I hope people just kind of like, I'm not sure if I want to play in Poulter because I'll use him. I don't care. I like him at this event. I think he's got a great shot to hit the top 20, maybe even get in the mix. So I got another player actually down there I kind of like. Want to get your thoughts. I do like Schauffele, but what about Daniel Berger? Like he's T10 on his first attempt here, T27 last year, not playing that poorly.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like if the conditions are tough too, I think that could really favor him.
So what I would say is, I think last week he was one of the one-on-ones, and I
don't think either of us liked it. Didn't we pick like RCB over him? Probably. Sounds like something we did.
It was an ownership thing. I think I made the case that I didn't really dislike him, but I think he would be more popular. And it looks decent to me on paper. Decent history, like you said, but he is hitting it slightly better over the past 8 to 10 rounds or so. Putter's been very, very consistent, not better or worse, but what I'm seeing is he's just kind of like putting like he putts, but he's slightly on the upward trend in terms of hitting a little better. So if that continues, I don't see why he's not something that one can factor in.
I can almost consider betting him today. He's like 100 to 1 in one of my books. It's really tempting, but I got to start limiting myself here. I think I just added more Hadwin instead, just to make myself feel better. So
what about? I haven't heard you say a word about him, and I know you like him. What about Casey? Were you still there?
Oh, I'm saving Casey. Don't worry.
Oh boy.
We'll get to Paul Casey.
Sorry about that.
We'll get to Paul Casey. Don't worry. You'll hear me enough at the end of this podcast. What about Paul Casey?
Excited for that. I'm excited for a Casey.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about our betting. Actually, let's just get right into it. Let's talk about our betting cards. I mean, I'll start off. Paul Casey's my biggest bet this week. Like I don't even care about the number anymore. I'm probably going to add more, but I got some of him at 50 to 1. I wish I'd taken more. He's down to 23. I've been like making some parlays and stuff like that, but he's going to be my biggest bet. Look, I won't even go over half the numbers. Someone put out a great tweet today. I think it was Fried Egg or Fried Egg Pauly on Twitter, at Fried Egg Pauly. Paul Casey hasn't made a double bogey at Augusta since 2012. 7 of his last 12 rounds at Augusta have been 69 or better. All this guy needs to do is get like within a couple shots of the lead on Sunday. I swear to God, he's going to be there. I got so much confidence right now that he's going to be at least in the mix on Sunday. But in the mix, I mean like he's going to be like a shot off the lead or in the lead, tied for the lead, like with 4 holes to go. So I got a lot of confidence in Paul Casey this week. He's my top bet for an outright for sure. I don't even think it's that bad a number. Again, when you consider the smallness of the field, the lead-in, the course history and stuff like that. Obviously, I got him at some better prices, but he's going to be my biggest. I got a little bit of Mark Leishman at 55 too. Obviously, I don't like him as much as at the start of the year, but I got him like top 8 for an each way. So he's on my card. I also got some Jason Day. I started betting Jason Day like a month ago. I don't love it as much now, but I still like it. Again, I go over course histories here. Jason Day's course history is almost as good as almost anyone's in this field. He almost won this event on his first try. He shot 64 here in his second competitive round. He knows how to get around this course. I think he's coming in a little bit under the radar, so I kind of like that from an outright too. Hopefully his price drifts to like 25 to 1 later in the week. I might add that, but those are probably my 3 biggest bets. We did talk about Hadwin. I think we both have some Adam Hadwin now from more of like a top 5, top 10 perspective. But again, the guy's just playing too well. I trust in what you're doing, and I trust in what I see too, and I like the Adam Hadwin. So I think those are kind of my 4 biggest guys on my card right now. I added a little bit of Louis Oosthuizen today just because I could not help myself. But what about you?
Well,
you down with my Casey take, first of all? Because you haven't said anything about it.
Well,
like, even when we've been DMing, you're just like, yeah, that's cool, Jeff.
So it's not so much that I don't agree or I don't have anything there. Like, I agree with if he's in the position, I feel good about him. I'm just not, from what I'm normally looking at, I'm just not as excited. It's not like the numbers are bad. It's just kind of like, all right, well, he's playing well. It's not one of those, like, time to jump on Casey. He's kind of, like, softened off a little since we hit on him, when he won. So, again, he's playing well and it's consistent. It's just not like, oh, my God, I need him. So I don't have him, especially, listen, at the numbers, whatever you have him at, I mean, I don't have access to that right now. So I think like 21 to 1 is where he is. I'm not ready to jump on that. I'm a little disappointed I have Fowler at 20 because, he's at 23 now. Had he just finished off this last event or at least played well, I think he'd probably be in the upper teens. But the numbers jump back there. Yeah, I have the Hadwin with you. Other guys I have for the Masters right now, I have Rose at 20-1, which I think is a bit better than where it's at, right? Rose is 14, so I like that number. I feel like I got the value there. Fleetwood,
You definitely got the value there. Yeah.
That's one of the bigger ones for me.
That makes up for whatever other else you did. That's a great number.
Yeah, because Fleetwood I'm way behind. Well, not way, but I mean he's at 40. I have him at 35. Noren I'm ahead of. He's at 40 right now. I got him at 50-1. I put that out to all of our subscribers as soon as I did. I still like that number. I'm surprised he's still only at 40. Leishman, yeah, I've been on with you for a while. And that's all I have. So right now on the card is Fowler, Hadwin, Rose, Fleetwood, Noren, and Leishman. I'm not stoked. I'm happy with some of the prices. I'm gonna have to add one or two more guys that I feel a little more confident in, just to feel like I'm better. I mean, I'm surprised Rahm. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. His price is I'm looking at 23. Weird numbers right now on 5 dimes. 23.40, so 23.4-1. I think no one's talking about him, so I'm just kind of surprised that the number has been suppressed to where it is. Other than that, it's hard to say. I mean, Oosthuizen at 55 is not bad. Scott at 55, who knows? Poulter's been dropping crazy. I think he opened at 60 to 80. I'm seeing him at 55 now, so
yeah,
it's hard. It's one of those things where, like, how am I going to bet one of the guys I really like and feel like I'm not just throwing money, to get money back? Like, I want to make money, so I don't even know if it's going to be in the outright field this week. I might be, peppering some of those top 5, top 10s, or even some crazy parlays with the cuts.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now, too. Like I said, I don't really want to add anyone else. I'll probably add a little bit of money on Jason David. I already got some of him, so I might make some parlays with Justin Thomas if I can get, a couple, things like that, get him up to like 40-1 or something like that, and hit on a couple of those. That'd be nice, but I don't think I'm going to go crazy. That would be the only other player I'm really looking to add from a complete outright, though, perspective, is Justin Thomas. And I don't think that number's bad, by the way. Like, if you have, like, no one on your card right now and you want to bet one player, I would bet Justin Thomas, personally. I would just, put all your money there. Because it is kind of a bit of a minefield. I mean, obviously I like Paul Casey. I mean, that would probably be the other guy, but I don't think Justin Thomas at all at double digits is a bad bet at all. I think that's actually good value for him. It's interesting though, because all these guys are at like 15, 10-1, Tiger, Rose. Actually Phil's not even that bad value. I think he's up in like the teens. So, but it's tough because you either gotta bite and just pick your guy and go with it, or you got to just look for these other guys like Usti at like 50 or 60. I got him at 70, but guys like that. So
again, my numbers are always garbage. Who do you have? What do you have Tiger and Phil at?
I'll tell you. Let's see. I think Tiger's.
So I'm gonna do on odds.
Tiger's 12-1 right now. Phil is 18-1.
So I like that 18-1 number. I'm seeing him at 16.5, but I'm looking at Tiger at 1390.
Tiger's starting to drift a bit. I think people are.
If you got
people probably got their hype money in on Tiger early, right? So
let's see. I mean, I don't see anyone above 14. I mean, if you go to Odds Checker, I mean, listen, I don't even know half these sites or if you can even access them. They're pretty much all 14. I see one at 17. I don't even know, what that is, but yeah, everything's like still the 10 to 12. So yeah, I mean, 5 dimes one of the better ones. I mean, it's almost 14-1. I don't mind it if it jumps if it moves to 15, you want to throw $20 on it. Like, I feel good about that. But Phil at 18, pretty good number. I'm showing him a bit less. Yeah, I mean, Phil at 20, I would feel awesome about, and Tiger at 15, I wouldn't be against getting involved with. Like, just to have those two guys, like, they sound like ridiculous numbers, but like you're saying, I mean, when was the last time we've seen a field with this many guys under 20? I mean, it's almost 10 guys in the teens or less, and it's like, that's not fun.
Yeah, it's not great value, to be honest. That's why I think
books are going to kill it this week.
No, for sure, yeah, and that's why we try and get like some of these guys at better odds. Like I did get some Casey at like 50-1 early in the year, which is probably saving my ass right now, and some parlays that I do, but I mean that's just like degenerate stuff. But yeah, that's why I said, like, I'm probably not going to add anyone huge right now from the outright perspective. Well, I might, add a little bit to what I already have, but that's about it. Because There's just there ain't that much out there. So unless you don't have anyone on your card or not much, and you can just hit one of these guys like JT or Spieth or whoever you want and just hit them up big. So that's pretty much where I'm at. Obviously we can talk about like the top senior and stuff like that. But are there any other markets that you're kind of looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to you earlier about the cuts. I'm more interested in playing the to miss the cuts because I know in this field, and they'll give you like 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1 odds on some of the better guys. If you can pick one of those, and then a couple of the guys that you can probably get some really nice returns there. At the U.S. Open last year, I made a couple bucks just doing a couple 3-man to miss the cuts. Those are always fun. Obviously, there it's a lot more people miss the cut there, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
Listen, it's just more like in fun. Like, my book just basically gives you outrights, top 5s, top 10s, sometimes top 20s. So, that's what I'm used to. It's kind of like meat and potatoes. So when you get the majors and they give you like all these little fun things like who they're going to score, like, over 71.5, things like that. Like, I'm not used to seeing that too much. So to play with that, I am going to throw some money. I'm not going to put it on the bets. Maybe I'll put 1 or 2, to make the cut or miss the cut on the FGM bets, but I'm not going to be putting those crazy ones out there. But they're just more fun these weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you can hit up those. You can, do the first round leader. They like top 20 on a couple of my books for first round, which is kind of hilarious. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. I remember at the PGA, I hit like Gary Woodland first round leader, like top American, because they had him at a stupid price. Because I don't know why, they must have forgot who he was, but that was great. So lots of good betting markets out there. But we've probably been chatting long enough about this thing. Let's get to it. Who's your pick to win? Give me a hot take to go along with it, and then we'll get out of here.
You know what? I want to pick Tiger. I really do want to pick Tiger. But I am going to go with Justin Thomas. Just that mindset and that possibility. If there's a conversation that I can have with anyone where I can visualize someone going out in this field and blowing it away, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I can see that happening. That has to be the guy that I get behind. So he's number 1 on our survival guide, and I like Thomas. I think he's got a really good chance to make it easy, like you're saying.
Hey man, if I hadn't already decided that Paul Casey was winning this thing and convinced myself, then Justin Thomas would probably almost 100% be my pick. But I'm going with Paul Casey. Again, I just think objectively speaking, he's coming in off the big win. It was such a big win from his career perspective, just getting it off his chest. He's already had a couple top 10s. His lead up, it looks a lot like a lot of past Masters winners too. So does Justin Thomas's, but I like Casey, man. He's got a ton of experience at this course. He's in that age range where we see a lot of past winners. I think if he's just got to get himself in the mix the first couple days. If he can just get himself in the mix, I think you're going to see him get it done this week. And I really do like him. Justin Thomas would be my backup, though. But I'm going with Paul Casey to win this year.
You heard it.
What do you think about that?
I mean, listen, I'm going to be thrilled for it. I don't have him. I wish I was able to bet him right now. That's the only thing.
That's all right.
I think
I'll ride me and Paul right off together in the bank account. Anything else before we got anything housekeeping we missed, or anything else? Any shout outs before we get out of here?
I think that's it. I mean, I think we touched on everything. A lot of stuff with the site. I think we talked about a lot of different guys. I mean, there's a couple of guys maybe didn't mention, but for the most part, we went through a lot of guys that we like, and anyone else. I don't know. I think we touched on a lot of things. I mean, listen, it's one of our longest pods right now, so we definitely got into it.
So, anyways, for Steve, for me, at the Fantasy Grind, at FG Metrics, make sure you check out the site, guys, at fantasygolfmetrics.com. It is one of the best deals out there in fantasy golf. You get access to so many good tools, articles, the survival guide, the FGM bets. Honestly, it's too much to mention here. Free to make an account. The subscriber info is up there. My name is Jeff Ulrich, and for Stephen Richter, have a great Masters, guys, and we will talk to you again next week.
Take it easy.